Everyone, you must be knowing God cannot be present at all the moment, every time with everybody. So the Almighty created mothers, right? Now, God is everywhere in that sense. Similarly, when mothers are not around, the sisters do take care of us as brothers, daughters, and so many relations we have. They are the people who take care of us. Man created machines because not everything was possible for them to do all the time, everything at their choices. Now comes in the same flow, if you see, in coaching and the training industry, you see there are a lot of mentors, but every mentor is a human being. They are definitely using tools, but nobody could be present with their mentee all the time, 24 by 7, 365 days a year. Am I right? Yes. And this was bothering me. Like, as a student, as a mentee, if I need some help, when am I gonna ask my mentor if it is late night, if it is early morning? Should I gonna be waiting for those 4 hours, 10 hours, 2 days, or 5 days? I was not feeling comfortable, and I was looking forward to create something as a solution to this. And I'm finally happy that I've created something which I call Alok-Omni, which is a clone of me. Yes, this is a tool which I have created by training as what I do, what as a person I am, and how it is going to help you all coaches relating to all the coaching related subjects. Yes, it is very particular about coaching, right? So I created Omni because I cannot be omnipresent all the time. Nobody else could be. Neither am God. So why I should not be creating something which helps my people, my mentees, my family to get me as a solution in terms of a tool which they can access 24 by 7, 30, 365 days a year. And yes, I'm glad I did it. So I'm just wanting to show you how I did it and how did I train this tool to act as myself. Yes, it's not generic, remember. It will give you a flavor of me, like the way I do, the way I talk, the way I ask questions, the way I suggest solutions. So let's have a glimpse of it. I'm really happy to share this. So here it goes. So I started with again a prompt with Chat GPT. This prompt is again well thought of, and by doing this, I was having a nice conversation with Chat GPT, right? It wanted me to give more and more inputs, and I started giving it one by one. Slowly and steadily, we formulated something like what a coach should be doing, what kind of information it should be giving. So it should not be generic. So I started talking about, you know, the with the chat GPT to understand who as a person I am and how I can help with my tone, my simplicity, my strategies. Nothing from the internet, remember. So slowly and steadily, the activation instructions were given to me. I again redefined with my social media handles, with my behavioral models, my knowledge base. I started giving it to the as a feed, as a input to it. Then I started with first thing, which is my core belief model, the identity and authority. I put in the core beliefs and values because I'm a person who follow this values and I beliefs, right? Similarly, slowly and steadily, the tone, the language, the style, the pattern in which I teach, and everything which makes me unique. So I put myself here. I created my clone, and this clone was now further asking about more clarifications. I gave multiple inputs in terms of some documents, some videos, and blah blah. There are a lot of inputs which were required. Slowly, we were in the formation stage, and we started doing it one by one because ChatGPT said it cannot process all the data at once. So we started with my signature method. So it started from the Alok clone database, which I call the Alok method, right? So Alok is an abbreviated format of authority led, outcomes anchored, kind but direct method, right? That is what I call Alok method. So it has learned what kind of a person I am. Then it cloned my behavioral rules, right? What kind of a person I am, what kind of a clarity I do give. So the clarity shock, the direction drop, the belief mirror, the hard truth gift, the identity lock, and many things like it. So my uniqueness was fed into this. Then we upgraded the clone, right? After having this, we upgraded the clone and it said, okay, now the signature has been integrated. Then it again asked me something and I gave some inputs. Then it was layer 2 when it started asking about the database inputs. So I gave the operating principles, like what all principles do I follow when I talk about organic marketing and building a business. So the first was content, then was comments, conversations, call booking, and closing. Then again it was asking about how the clone must diagnose. So we actually talked about diagnosing something which is like a real human being, and that real human being was me. So there was strategic differentiator embedded here. Slowly and steadily, one by one, it created another layer which talked about authority dominator positioning system, because I always believe in this. Then we talked about the four pillars of authority domination, where clarity of stand, differentiation mechanism, proof of depth, and positioning through elimination was talked about. Then we created the authority dominator formula. Then this clone again had a different response behavior system, because this clone is made to answer whatever questions these coaches are asking. So we created a clone response behavior, and I embedded my personal edge, which is calm, direct, strategic, and grounded. I have never been talking about aggressiveness, drama, trends, and flashy things. So we eliminated those, and I put it my feel, my personal edge into this. Then again, the 48-hour authority reset, because it's a 24 by 7. So we created something which should be realistic. Not everybody should be like, uh, expecting everything on the go. But yes, this tool is capable of giving answers on the go, right? So we created something, as I said, which should help the coaches 24 by 7. Slowly and steadily, we talked about decision making logic, how I diagnose any coach before suggesting or guiding. So again, it has multiple levels: clarity problem or a skill problem, where the link is broken, and is this is a positioning issue or a behavior issue, is this is a courage issue, or identity upgradation is required. So the complete diagnostic flow was created with multiple other parameters. And then we created a response structure. The clone, the Alok-Omni should follow. So we focused on reality check, root causes, specific fix, to 48-hour execution plan, strategic warning, identity anchor. Right? Now, what makes this decision tree different? Because it was not made on symptoms. It was made on the diagnostic, which was psychological state of the coaches, marketing positioning, execution behavior, and identity level. So again, we embedded behavioral signature here, like how I did. So now again, multiple layers was created. Then authority content narrative framework was created, where core belief, the authority narrative archetypes were created, where I talked about industry disruption post, the diagnostic mirror post, the strategic breakdown post, the hard truth post, the identity upgrade post. So, the depth of the content was disclosed here. Then content sequencing strategy was fed. So how the clone must generate content if somebody is asking to do that, because content is one important thing. Nine. Then we talked about unique content strategy, where again it was measured and input were given, like it should be calm, precise, strategic, emotionally intelligent, and it should create authority without aggression. So all these things were put in. Then it talked about authority funnel without ad system, because as I said, I talk about organic growth, I talk about organic marketing. So mostly coaches do this. They are trying to pull in traffic, give a lead magnet, then they do webinar and then pitch, which is, for me, it is outdated. So I created a system where I talked about authority, attention, building trust, tension, and then decision. So it was subtle but lethal, right? Then again, we talked about core belief, and we created the 6-stage authority flow. So again, the 6 stages were visibility through authority content, strategic commenting layer, conversation activation trigger, tension application, amplification through dialogue, and clarity call structure. And last was the post call authority reinforcement. So again, why these things are working, what kind of a diagnostic it was doing, everything was fed, right? So my differentiation was put in the funnel and so on and so forth. So the seventh layer was high ticket closing psychology, because sales is one important aspect of it, and I wanted to train this custom GPT based on this. So we created again some core beliefs and the 5 phase closing structure, where emotional stabilization, structural diagnosis, cost of inaction, and identity contrast was talked about, along with direct invitation. Fair? Now, I talk about high value mentoring. So I talked about how your style can convert premium clients, right? So again, the three types of no's which normally people do, how you can counter that. Fair. So again, I trained it on, the, what do you say, the objection handling part of it, right? And how the signature experience, which is my edge, helps people in closing, right? So again, we created some clone systems and multiple layers were fed in, and we finally created the objection handling matrix to solve this. So all these things were again put, the four root objection categories were defined and taught. It was fed, which was resource objection, then self-doubt objection, then external permission objection, and delay objection. Everything was handled. So based on that, we created a response, objection response structure, right? And then we created multiple other rules which completed the entire architect of this cloning. And then, after having this, we were talking about what to name it and how to name it. Fair? So we talked about multiple other things, and finally we came out of a particular name, which was again suggested by, this tool only, which talked about, the name, which is Alok-Omni, because it has multiple other layers to it. So we again, during the course, I can keep on explaining. During the course, it again asked for another patterns, which I do. It was faded. And again, the emotion part, the differentiation versus market, everything was, one by one fed in to understand who as a person I am. And then I created the identity lock signature, and final activation was done. So keeping this in mind, then was, different versions of clone were created slowly and steadily before I finally created this custom GPT, right? So final integration was done, and we already had three immutable leadership principles in this, and final identity energy was defined. So again, you see there are multiple, inputs being given to me by me. And then, there was a time when there was a discussion between me and ChatGPT, what should be the name, as I was talking about. I was referring to Alok AI, but somehow it said no. AI should not be used in the name, because if it is something premium, it has to be something different. Not AI word should not be, put into that. So again, we discussed, and finally we came out of a particular name, which I named, as I told you, Alok-Omni. So, again, it revisited the entire things, and based on the name, it suggested me to do something better. So, there are at places you might have seen it is written Alok AI before we reached out to the final name, which is Alok-Omni, right? So, you can see how much time have I invested here, uh, learning and teaching, training this particular tool about me, and how do I behave with my, audience, my coaches. So again, everything was redone actually based on the names. And finally, what we came out was this Alok AI Omni Companion. So this really, attracted me as well, because Omni is really what I was thinking about it, right? So Omni is always like being present together, and this name was literally suiting to what I was looking for. So it was premium, composed, institutional, brand-led, non-tech dependent, not gimmicky. So finally, we zeroed down to it, because Omni was defined as O referring to operational clarity, M referring to mentorship logic, N referring to navigational authority, and I referring to identity elevation. So I really appreciated how it has understood. Then we calibrated the tone and we logged it, and so on and so forth. So now you see there are a lot of things still going on. I'm already working on it. Although the first version is out in testing phase, and I'm looking forward to, I've already shared it to a few of my paid clients to give me the feedback, and they are literally enjoying it. I'll be formally launching it very shortly once I'm happy with the outcomes and the feedback. So this is all about the creation of Alok-Omni. Yes, as I said, not everybody or any coach can be present with their mentees all the time. So why not I create my clone, and this clone is by the name Alok-Omni, and I'm happy sharing this that this is already done. A lot of huge hours had been spent. I'm just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and you see a lot of things which are there. So I'm looking forward to more and more feedback. Once this is done, I'll be formally launching, and be ready, because this is gonna be not just a tool. It's, as I said, it's me with you all the time, 24/7, 365 days a year, as a silent mentor who is there always with you. Whenever you have anything, you can just click it and ask it. You'll be getting those answers. So thank you so much. I'm looking forward to creating or building it even more powerful, and I'll be updating you on the same. Thank you so much. Bye bye.